So on this side of the Atlantic, then, the oligarchs are a bit unhappy about the types of populist politicians that are popping up around the planet at the moment. So here is the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change, and they've produced a new report, High Tide, Populism in Power, 1990 to 2020. And they've got a nice little animated graphic here which shows how populist leaders have been in power and out of power over the last couple of decades. The blue areas are populist leaders in power. The light grey are populist leaders or parties that are involved in politics in those countries but are not in power. And then there are other countries where there is no populism apparently going on. So they've created this database called the Population and Power Database, and they say that it offers the first truly global look at the populist phenomenon that has been shaking up established political parties around the world. And they believe that populism reached its global high point around 2010, and it's remained relatively steady since that time. So that was the sort of inflection point for them. So they identified 3 new populists in the last year: Bolsonaro in Brazil, Lopez Obrador in Mexico, and also in Sri Lanka as well. And more new leaders. They've got details on their website that you can go and read all about these people. So clearly Tony Blair and his elite are extremely concerned about the rise of populism. This is something that he's been expressing in speeches, but they've now done some academic research on it, and they're investigating the people involved. They don't have any answers for how to deal with it, of course, but they're clearly concerned about it.
So you mentioned some left-wing names, Mike. You mentioned some right-wing names. So what is the implication by Tony Blair, that populism is bad? Is that the...
Oh, that is absolutely his position, and
left or right populism is bad.
Yes, and it's an expression in his view of the sort of reaction against globalism, where the majority of people have been left behind, as they say, and their answer to that in general is, well, we need to throw the dogs a couple more bones, and they'll be all right. And we'll be all right as an elite, of course, if we do that. So that seems to be his position. But they want to track this rise of populism around the world, because, of course, they have to know where to apply their NGO resources to try to deal with it.
So Jeremy Corbyn clearly was a populist. He was running on a populist agenda, although it was a left-wing populist agenda. Bernie Sanders is quite clearly a populist. The more he's being attacked by the media, by the party elites, the more grassroots passionate support he's gathering, just like Donald Trump, same effect. Bernie Sanders, Trump, same effect, different sides of the political paradigm. Evo Morales, he's a populist as well, left-wing populist. So you have right-wing, you have left-wing populists, but according to Blair, the only acceptable leadership in a, quote, democracy are neoliberal.
Well, Blairite.
Blairite neoliberals, or centrists, or radical centrists, or neoliberal centrists. This is the only acceptable option according to Blair. Look at who funds Tony Blair. Look at who is backing Tony Blair. You can see these are the people, this is the agenda that he's running. And so they do not like democracy in its purest form. They do not trust the people to make the choice of who should be in charge and who shouldn't. That is clear. That's the message Tony Blair is sending. This is what he did right before the general election, Mike. Tony Blair was very busy in the run-up to the general election, dividing the Labour Party, splitting the Labour Party, so that you had the landslide victory that the Conservatives did have. A lot of that was down to the work of Tony Blair and his cohort. So you can see they're very busy, even at home as well as away.
Absolutely.